This is fun.
Yes, indeed. Hey, everyone. Joseph, our guest here. Welcome. I'm here with my friend, Sean Callagy. Sean Callagy runs something called Unblinded. He's an extraordinary gentleman. I've had the chance to get to know him and his work the past 7 months. I'm actually a little upset with certain people in my life because several people in my circle, in success circles, the power team community, my friend Tony Rodriguez, Chinwei, many others have been part of this process for the past year. It's significantly changed their lives. It's allowed them to really reach a lot of their goals, their dreams, writing their books, getting on stages, and much more. And I'm beyond excited, really, having Sean here today. So, Sean, how are you?
I'm doing great, Joseph. I'm incredibly grateful to be here. Very grateful for you, Chinwei, Tony, amazing humans. So thankful to everybody for watching.
Beautiful. Excellent. Yeah. So Sean is based in New Jersey. He's one of the top trial attorneys in the country. So a little bit more about his bio, and we actually have him from the Power Team community next week. So this event, this a Rules for Success podcast, which actually gets saved onto rulesforsuccess.com. The mind map, the summary will be there too as well. If you want to watch the replay of this at any point or capture the summary as a mind map, it'll be there too as well. A little bit more about Sean's background. He's a founder and president of Callagy Law, a more than 100-person team with offices in 5 states. He's the founder of Charitable Foundation, the Callagy Christian Foundation. For 23 years, he's been aided by his unique insights, love for people, ability to see and create transformational breakthroughs. Sean has achieved and co-created an incredible, diverse variety of unique successes. And beyond that, he's an entrepreneur. He's a dad. He's a national speaker. He's a philanthropist. He's an online personality. And he's the creator of Unblinded. I've had the chance to connect with Sean through his unique framework over the past several months. Sean, you've really achieved quite a bit. You've been on this journey for quite a bit of time. You mentioned some of your influences early on, including Jerry Spence. And I have one of his books that I bought 20 years ago. That was one of the first growth books I got on my own journey of evolution to what I do right now as an entrepreneur. And of course, Tony Robbins. You're part of the Lions community, Lions Platinum community with Tony Robbins.
Yes, sir. Immense privilege, Joseph, to do that. And yeah, Jerry Spence, and I don't mention Jerry Spence as often as I should. His book, How to Argue and Win Every Time, was the beginning, along with Tony's work in a competitive edge seminar that I went to about a year after I first listened to Personal Power and also read Awaken the Giant Within. But they were immense sources of just this idea that things operate differently, number one, and number two, contextualizing the mentors I had growing up. So it was, Tony, Jerry Spence, and others. But that was the moment in 1997 when it all shifted for me.
Yeah, and you've had many influences. I know in previous conversations we had, your mother's kind of helped. Your mom raised you. Your aunts raised you in a lot of ways. At some point in life, you lost your vision, and it's something hereditary. Went through your family. Your godfather, uncle passed away of it many years ago, from what I understand. And this has augmented your ability to listen and to connect, right, in an extraordinary way, which blows my mind away. Tell us a bit about your story. So how did Sean Callagy, how did you evolve into who you are? I mentioned a little bit of that. Of course, I have a little context to your life from hearing you share in the past, but tell the audience, how did you evolve into becoming who you are as an entrepreneur, as a leader, and making really bold choices in your 20s that's led you down this path, working with Jay Abraham, one of my own mentors too, as well, around joint ventures and, all of it. How did you evolve to get to where you are right now?
Well, thanks, Joseph. So let's start with I am wildly imperfect, but I think that we're all perfectly imperfect as human beings, and we have choices about how we confront and deal with the world. So when I was young, my parents got divorced when I was very young. My dad was very much in my life, but I lived with my mom and she worked. And my grandparents had an extraordinary impact, as well as my aunts, as you said. I was raised in a very matriarchal environment in many ways. And my grandfather, who was going blind from the same eye condition I have, and I did not know I had it, was also an incredible influence. This lightning bolt on the hat has a lot to do with understanding that change and progression comes from the unblinding of people. We'll come back to that. So as a kid, I was a huge fan of Batman, James Bond, Star Wars, Muhammad Ali, The Miracle on Ice, Joe Namath and the New York Jets, although they won before I was even born, those stories and legends of people doing things that were really unique and different. I love Batman because Batman had no superpowers.
Me too. Me too. I'm a
Yeah,
huge comic fan. Yeah, got it.
yeah, yeah.
Awesome.
So that all and by the way, the Dark Knight series by Chris Nolan and Christian Bale. I can't imagine that there could be anything better than if that would come back. And I'm like, every time I see Justice League movie, I'm like, please bring back Christian Bale. Please.
Exactly.
Right?
Exactly. You can't beat Christian Bale. It's a great job with the mystery, the intrigue, the character is spectacular. I've watched 2005, The Dark Knight. My dad passed away. I've watched that movie probably 100 to 200 times over the course of 5 years as a healing process into the whole metaphor of getting back up.
You're bringing tears to my eyes, and you are. That movie I've watched with my children not 100 times, but a couple dozen times for sure. And I will never forget the first time my daughter watched it. She's like, I don't really want to watch Batman, and I'm not there. And she said tears pouring down her eyes in the last minutes of Dark Knight Rises. And so the magical dynamic of people doing extraordinary things was rooted inside of me. And I didn't grow up with money, but I grew up with dreams and of sports heroes and people doing good, and it just was very present for me.
Your mom went to prisons, and she would read the Bible to them, right, on a weekly basis.
You, Joseph. Wow, I'm impressed. Thank you. I'm honored. So yeah, my mom did Bible study in prisons for about over 10 years, and yeah, I am not here without my mom. I would not have built Callagy Law without my mom. You're like, oh, your mom was a lawyer. No. My mom didn't go to college. My mom pushed a hot dog cart in Jersey City when I was a baby.
Wow.
And my mom worked in New York after the hot dog cart was like, not working. And she went to work as what would have been called then a secretary. And she was in New York, and then, she did some of that administrative type work. And then eventually when I started Callagy Law, about 6 months in, I was ready to quit every single day. It was crazy. It's its own whole own story. But my mom came to work with me there, and she did the administrative things that I just wasn't interested in and wasn't very good at. And she was incredible running things. So it taught me a lot about team. Yeah. And my mom has been unbelievable influence and source of strength, of teaching, and of lightning bolts in my life. My mom dropped a lot of lightning bolts in my head too, not physically, but she was there to confront when she needed to.
And she believed in you. That's a big part of it.
Very much. Yeah, very much. To this day, I'm privileged and blessed that my mom be alive, and we speak daily. Yeah.
Amazing. So tell us more about your journey. So that's happened. Your mom, a big part of it. Your godfather also had influence on you as well. Also, he was losing his he was an eye doctor. He wasn't losing his vision, but he was committed to your family around resolving that.
Yes. So my godfather, my uncle Jimmy, James Bastek, he didn't actually have the condition because it goes from father to daughter who carries it. So my mom carried it. Her sisters could carry it. My one aunt has symptoms of it, then to me, and then my daughters can carry it like that. So Michael didn't have it, but he went back to medical school to create a cure, and he became one of the most successful physicians in the country in retina. So I always say I'm the first person in my direct family line to go to college because he was indirect, right? My uncle. So my parents, grandparents, etc. My uncle went to college, and he went back later in life, and it was his story is remarkable and inspiration. And he was tragically killed in a truck accident in 1998 at the age of 52. And his life stood for, there's an article, Joseph, in the newspaper after Michael passed away, that said it was a wonderful life. Like the movie, it was a wonderful life. And that was the article about his life and his impact, but it also has kept an urgency in me, both my eye condition and losing it over time, as well as my uncle's incredibly premature death, being happily driving down to Long Beach Island for the weekend with his family in the car, and he was rear-ended by a tractor trailer and killed instantly. And so that has kept an urgency inside of me.
Realizing life is short, right? And you're approaching that too. You and I are about the same age, I believe, approaching 50. Yeah. So it's life is short, right? Recognizing that. Yeah.
Absolutely.
Got it. Well, how did that influence you? What were some choices you made around that time? And I'm probably going back and forth different timelines right here, because you've had a lot of influences. And there's so much who you are as a person, as a leader, can be probably books can be written about you. You can probably write, two autobiographies about those different chapters of your life, and a lot of them are highly personal. And you are at a stage now in your life where you're probably one of the most hardworking people I've ever met, I've heard of, in terms of what you're doing with this movement, Unblinded. It's extraordinary, and something's driving you to deliver on this. I mean, your law firm, hugely successful, 120 plus person. You sold one, you second one, coaching business. Once again, I know I have a little bit of context about this, because our audience is watching. There's like, well, what's Joseph talking about? Well, of course, I've been on dozens of calls with you and the huddles, and I appreciate that. So perhaps there may be something I've skipped here, but like, please continue further with your evolution, that journey.
Yeah.
I know it's been a long day for you. Go for it, my friend.
I'm happy to be here. I know we're going to have something longer coming up together,
Yes.
our team. So I think in a nutshell,
Hmm.
I wasn't at all blessed with money growing up, but the richness that I received in love and mentorship was just an absolute perfect storm of insanity. My aunts, my grandparents, my mother and my father and my stepfather and my stepmother, all imperfect. I learned some of what not to do, and I learned what to do. And if I had one discerning or key distinction, it would be I was able to look at the people I loved and to distinguish between what they did that I wanted to model and what they did that I didn't. And I did it imperfectly. Dwight Gooden was my favorite baseball player of all time, is to this day. I love Dwight Gooden. My heart breaks to think of some of the things that happened in his life. He was a Met pitcher.
Yep.
At one point, he was the best pitcher in baseball. He was seen to be perhaps potentially going to be the best pitcher of all time.
Yep.
He had alcohol issues, drug issues. And as I studied and watched him, it didn't change things that I learned from him, as I was growing up studying him. And it was the same thing with my high school coaches. I had this Joseph, think of, the blessing that this would be. My high school baseball coach,
Yeah.
when he passed away, Bill Parcells, the two-time Super Bowl winning coach of the Giants, called my high school coach a mentor of his. My high school coach, who would bring me to camps, and I would drive in the car with him. And he was friends with professional baseball players. He created me going to Columbia University to play and getting recruited by hundreds of colleges, and and across the board. My freshman football coach, Coach Dennis Slazak, my high school wrestling coach, was the winningest wrestling coach in the history of the state of New Jersey.
Right.
And I went to tiny little public high school. So I was
in Emerson, right? Is that right?
Emerson, in northern New Jersey, where my children went. I loved Emerson so much. I was committed to my children going there, and awesome. They did. And they had incredible experiences there. And so, in a nutshell, I was drowned in mentorship and love and leadership, which is part of what drives the mission of Unblinded, is to create that mentorship, that leadership, and to pass along the blessings. I wrote on Father's Day this year. I have a Facebook post on Father's Day. I literally named and wrote 1, 2, 3 sentences about roughly 25 male mentors. And on Mother's Day this upcoming year, so I didn't think about it for Mother's Day, I'm going to do it with the female mentors.
Right.
And it'll number another 25 very easily. And so I think that we live in a world where we don't have enough of that, I believe. We have a lot of, and these people were the real deal. And so that shaped my vision about work ethic. It shaped my vision about leadership. There's, if you Google me, Sean Callagy, Columbia Baseball, you'll find an article going into my senior year at Columbia. Because sometimes people, recreate themselves, and that's fine. I believe in what Tony Robbins says, that we can recreate ourselves. And that's truly amazing, a blessing. It's wonderful. I've been this person. People are like, oh, you seem like really fired up. I was the guy in the high school huddle, be like, let's go. Right. I was there as an emotional, visceral leader. I studied Muhammad Ali. I love Muhammad Ali. He was an inspiration. So I modeled these people long before I knew what modeling was. And so, when I came out of, college, and I wasn't going to play professional baseball because of my eye condition. I was a 4-year starter there. I mentioned the Columbia article. It said, senior, captains, Chris Zander, my buddy and brother, Columbia captain, and myself,
Yep.
will establish positive leadership, shift for next season. And even then, I was so committed to positive leadership. And again, not perfectly, but committed. When I went to Columbia, I don't say this pridefully, I say it factually. I would only drink as a college student about a month a year, 1 month per year. I didn't drink a lot, right, even during that month, but 11 months I wouldn't have a sip of alcohol. Like during baseball season, fall, so I would not drink a sip. High school, it was the same thing. We had commitments about self-sacrifice, about investment in each other, about what things stood for. So I was just blessed with like these intensely amazing mentors, teammates, high school and college, that just create a foundational perspective on how things could go. And that has just carried through this day. And my ultimate why is I believe someday, if I'm blessed, that I'll meet God. And I'm going to be accountable for my talents. And I don't want to have buried them. I don't want to have squandered them. I want to have multiplied them as massive as I can. And that all fits together to be what's happening now.
Awesome. To be kind of used fully, right? All the gifts you have, the talents been given and beyond, I imagine. Yeah, got it.
Yeah.
Well, it's quite a journey. I mean, I really relate to the whole coaching aspect of things. I fencing team. I'm more someone who plays on the court. So I played a lot of sports growing up, and my coach had a lot of influence on me. So you've worked with quite a few.
What did you play growing up? I know fencing was in your life, but what else were you?
So I played soccer, fencing. I was in track team in high school. I had to quit the track team because I had a heart condition. So I basically would have these fainting spells throughout high school. I didn't know what caused it, but I knew that the more athletic I became, those conditions would go. You talk about your vision kind of going away and genetic. I found out in college I had the same condition my mom had a heart transplant for in '96. But it pushed me to be an athlete. So I was always an athlete. In college, my roommate was the captain of the hockey team. So I played with him roller hockey. We have hockey events all the time. I was in the fencing team for 3 years in college. Yeah, sports was a big part of my life. Not necessarily watching sports, but getting out there and playing. Because for me, it was a matter of if I didn't play, then I conditioned myself because I was, as I mentioned before, if I didn't play, then I'd have these fainting spells, and to thwart that, to ensure that my body was in good shape, my heart was in good shape, I knew to run, to move quite a bit. That's my journey with sports. And my fencing coach really had a huge influence for me. Yesterday was National Coaches Day. So I was thinking about him yesterday. Yeah, yesterday.
Oh my God, I didn't know that. I have a lot of messages to send out. So
yeah,
thank you.
You're welcome.
For reminding me, or letting me know. I didn't even know it was.
You're welcome. Yeah, it's National Coaches Day. I was thinking about my coach yesterday, and I mean, I went down this path in college where I got into marijuana. I did some stupid stuff, nitrous oxide, and I was at a point where my coach kind of had an intervention with me. I was smoking cigarettes, and I remember my sophomore year, I made a huge shift. And he got me a job in the weight training center, and I got to become a bodybuilder.
Is that right?
Yeah.
Because I don't know what anybody looks like, right? So I have no idea, like physically anything about it.
Got it.
Yeah, and your beautiful, loving, heart-centered energy. I didn't know that, so that's really cool that you're a bodybuilder.
I appreciate that. Yeah, I was for a time. Then my mom's cardiologist at the time, when she had a pacemaker put in, told me to cut that back significantly. So I had to kind of course correct again. So we're all making pivots in life. So it's all based on feedback we get, right? And for me, running, moving was a survival part of my life. And then I got feedback at some point later in college to minimize in something I was doing. I consider myself being an athlete. I think we're all peak performance athletes in this game of life. Life is a game. Every day is a game. I run a community called Success Circles. It's an accountability community. A lot of members in our community aren't unblinded. Ken Van Loo is one of your members. David Rush is a member. Erica joined 4 months ago. It's all based on the idea that we all need to huddle. We're all athletes in this game of life, and we can make today better than yesterday by shifting our focus each day on progress. And all that takes is just a minor shift. Part of my life, part of me releasing my heart condition years ago was recognizing that, taking the feedback I've gotten over the years and shifting that. That's how I cured myself of cardiomyopathy. And I believe anyone, we all have the ability of getting anywhere we want in life by simply focusing, making those choices each day, and choosing the path of most resistance as often as possible, perhaps if not every day, then often, because eventually if you do that 1% of growth per day compounds quite a bit over time. You know this, you live this every day. I see it.
Well,
Yeah.
thank you. And I honor your approach to math, like heart-centered math, and the power of compounding. So I honor that in a huge way, and really appreciate what you're doing for folks, Joseph.
Of course, yeah. And I see you do that as well. And your compounding Unblinded, it's growing monumentally. You've got this. So what's the commitment of Unblinded? So all of this has happened. You built this extraordinary law firm. And I also want to hear your definition of what success is for you. You mentioned to me, you shared with me that at the end of life, as you approach, connect with God, feel you've been used up fully using the gifts you've been given. I'd like to hear what your definition of success is and what's the vision of Unblinded.
Thank you. So I think the definition of success is whatever we each individually define it as, consistent with our highest vibration and connected to our why. So for me, success means having the most substantial impact I possibly can. And when I look at that means, this will dovetail into Unblinded, it means causing leadership. It means causing leadership. And it also means having an amazing balance and being there for my kids. My children are 21, 18, and 17. And right now, they've hit that beautiful phase where our relationship is amazing. I'm super grateful. I was blessed to have my son, Tyler, introduce me at the Unblinded immersion in January. He's amazing. Courtney, my daughter, Emma, my daughter, just I'm so blessed. They're perfectly imperfect, just like all of us, but they're beautiful, amazing kids, up to big things in the world, for sure. And they're busy. Yeah. So kind of this is like my side hustle. Like the law firm's my side hustle. Unblinded is my side hustle until my life re-engages fully again. And that would be if I'm blessed with grandchildren. And if I'm blessed with grandchildren, what my life is going to look like is I'm going to be at every game. I'm going to be at every game.
Right.
Just like my mom was, and my my children's grandfather, their mom's father, and my dad was there a lot, and my stepfather there a lot. And
you were there for practically every game for both your daughter and your son, right?
Yes, they played 1,000 games. I missed 9, other than ones that conflicted with each other. And so that means the world to me, family, love, and so I was raised with my grandparents and everybody. So yeah, over the next 10 years or so, there's a lot of work to be done until those years begin to occur. I'm blessed to make it to that age, right? And beyond.
So if these are your side hustles, what's your hustle then? So if Unblinded is your a side hustle and Callagy extraordinary law firm, one of the top law firms in the country, side hustle, what's your hustle then? What's your main focus?
Well, my main focus is first is God, then family, and then all of this. So I want to be there to make sure that this all passes on through Unblinded. I'll explain what I think that looks like in a moment. And I also want to be there to make sure that this is there for my kids. I'm privileged to have 2 beach houses with 3 spaces, that are together. For those that were at the Unblinded immersion, they were in those homes. And I have them for my kids. And not to just give them, but to be generationally there, like my grandparents had for our family, because I believe in having a heart and soul connected place. And now I believe in sharing it with others in the Unblinded elite programs. Yeah. Where I see this all going, I know I win, right? Here's when I know I win, right? And the impact is there. When there's sometimes I say 80,000, there's a giant arena and it's full of people. And I'm sitting in the last row of the upper deck. And nobody even knows who I am. And nobody knows that I'm there. And on stage that day in front of all those people teaching Unblinded Formula is a person that maybe I know right now, maybe I don't yet. And all around the world, when that's happening in that moment, there's thousands of stages and online dynamics and real raws and seminars and coaching and teaching of people teaching the formula. And influencers will have influenced influencers to have merged ecosystems. 1 + 1 equals a trillion relationships to make the world a greater place, and to have contributed to shifting truth in the media, lying inside of the legal system, impacting different approaches to solving big problems of division politically in America, maybe even around the world.
Yeah.
And then I will have known I won. And until
Amazing.
then, that will be the mission.
Amazing. Amazing. I mean, but I hear that there's like servant leadership being in the back watching this brand unfold, really impacting people with particularly around integrity-based influence. That's amazing. It's incredible that you've had those opportunities early on, coaches, leaders, to tap into that and have this be, I love how you said before, causing leadership in others. That's important to me in my life too. It's my mission in life as well, also to inspire leadership in others too. So it's extraordinary.
Yeah. And Joseph, I see that, and and it gets interesting at times. I'm sure you experience it, and I'm sure everybody will experience it. What was unexpected sometimes as things are emerging and happening, maybe naively, unanticipatedly, was just the dynamics of judgment and perspective on things, and that's interesting. I'm adapting to it. It's probably the least fun part of this, where people will make up their own stories about what's happening. Most people, it's amazing. Some people, they're not. And I honor people like at the highest level: Oprah Winfrey, Bruce Springsteen, Martin Luther King, John F. Kennedy, Barack Obama, Donald Trump, everybody that steps forward into the light. And we could say that these people are imperfect, they do horrible things, they don't do horrible things. But at the end of the day, when you step into leadership and cause more leadership, there's going to be dynamics that come your way. And our ability to withstand those, to stay focused, to stay energized, is challenging.
Yeah.
But I applaud every leader in the world that's causing positive vibrational leadership in others. And so, yeah, I honor that at the highest level.
So what gives you energy? So as I mentioned before, you're one of the hardest working people I know. I know you have a strategy in the morning. You have something tonight you're going to tap into as well also. And I have a passion for part of this too as well also. But please share with the audience what gives you energy each day.
That gives me energy.
Yeah. Awesome.
So that I have.
And Sean, you just cut out a little bit. So you have, it's the ocean. Got it.
Ocean gives me energy. Loving people gives me energy.
Amazing. So you cut out a little bit just now.
And solving issues.
But
ocean alone is extraordinary. So
awesome. Part of your I think part of one vision you've shared is you and your kids going scuba diving. I'm a scuba diver, and I learned how to swim later in life. I didn't know how to swim, until I was in my 20s. But I have a passion for scuba diving, and you've shared with us or the audience in the past that just the opportunity of flying your kids to a location, your family, your grandma, and taking them diving and having that experience with them, teaching them how to dive. To your dive master, dive trainer, I imagine as well also.
I'm an advanced diver. So I had other people certify my children. But yes, my children all had made their first scuba dive by the age of 10.
Amazing.
And my daughter Emma actually did about a 10-foot dive when we were at Stingray City in Grand Cayman when she was 8. So we've been in the water but more crazily, please don't call DIFUS. So I guess maybe the statute of limitations has expired. When they were 3, 4, and 6. 3, 4, and 6. I used to have my daughter Emma on my back. I'd be holding my daughter Courtney's hand, and my son Tyler, at the ripe old age of 6, would be leading us out to the reef, which was between 200 and 300 yards offshore. Yeah. And we would just go out alone together like that. And so, and I think about it and I get tears in my eyes. Just like that gives me energy.
It's amazing. It's a whole planet out there, and you see life out there and the flow of water. It's cold also in certain sections, but I'm sure this warm water you're talking about. But have you done like cold water, New Jersey?
Yes, I have. And I surf during the winter. I scuba dive in New Jersey. The coldest dive I ever did, Joseph, was a scuba dive in the summer off of Vancouver, like a little bit south of Whistler. And it was unbelievable. My son Tyler dove there, and it was, everybody else had a dry suit on. Right. We're the only people in a wetsuit.
Oh, no.
insanely cold. The water temperature in Dubai was like 36.
Yeah.
Crazy. So yes, but it was fun.
Got it. So water is your sport, and water rejuvenates you in a lot of ways.
Yeah.
Anything else you take on each day that you really embrace, like priming rituals or other rituals that really get your day in motion?
I sure do. So I think, and I learned this from Tony Robbins, and I honor and love Tony. If I start talking about Tony now and finished in a week, I wouldn't be
Yeah.
done. And I've had the privilege. I just want to say this about Tony Robbins. I've had the privilege of communicating with Tony one-on-one a number of times. I would never call Tony a friend. I would never leverage that dynamic in any way, shape, or form.
Mhm.
You know, I would let somebody like that choose to call me a friend first, right, before I would ever dare to do that. But I have had encounters in the world with Tony Robbins when nobody's watching. And that man, I cannot say enough about his integrity, his heart, and his desire and love for people. And I feel such empathy for him because of how much people love him,
Mhm.
the desire to be around him, to encounter him, to connect with him, to befriend him,
Yeah.
and I know he wants to be that for every person on the planet. I could feel it from him. And so just beyond comprehension, the level of love and gratitude that's present, and how much people in the power team and yourself, like it's just the right world, and Tony, like everybody else, is perfectly imperfect, but he is everything you would hope and want him to be. And I've directly experienced that.
Yeah. There's value in congruence, really showing up powerfully, being that, and I mean, of course, he's influenced like, millions of people, tens of millions, if not more. So it takes a certain level of integrity to be able to show up that way.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And imagine the level of influence you have to have been in private meetings with Donald Trump
Hmm.
and Barack Obama. Like,
Yeah.
just imagine,
Right.
and like,
Right.
and George Bush
And
and Bill
Clinton.
Clinton.
Yeah.
Like it's remarkable, just truly remarkable.
Right. It takes a lot of trust to be able to do that. And yeah, and really holding the space for people to really shine with
Yeah.
whatever they're dealing with. I know he talks about Clinton during those tough years he's had as well. Got it.
So,
Yeah, proximity is power. So you made a choice to be around Tony and other greats too. Jay Abraham too was one of your mentors.
yeah,
I saw you both interact on the Platt Summit, and there was a moment there where I could see he was very proud. Like, well, this is extraordinary what you're doing here. Ecosystem mergers. Jay was my mentor on joint ventures back 13 years ago, and you've in Unblinded, what you're doing, you made the nature of creating alliances, ecosystems, immeasurable. And that was missing for me in my life. Now it's an active every day, an hour a day I invest toward ecosystem mergers. I wasn't before, but it's because you brought lightness to it. Like Jay, I love Jay, his work, his strategy of preeminence, being a fiduciary, changed my life, projects I've gotten into over the years. But you brought a sort of lightness to it that made it accessible to a greater audience. And I mean, that one distinction, I mean, that one measurable for focus goes energy flows added to people's worlds, right? That's been part of my world for 10 plus years now, will lead into a lot of scaling, an enormous amount of scaling, right?
yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. So for me, I mean, Jay Abraham, I've had the privilege. I would call Jay a friend, and that would be something that Jay has called me. I've had the privilege of having dinner with Jay and his wife. I've had the privilege of having many one-on-one conversations with Jay. Jay was so gracious and flew out to the Unblinded immersion, spoke on stage there. We had a very, if I could share,
Please.
one of the funnier moments of my life. Okay, so imagine growing up and having your heroes be like Muhammad Ali, Dwight Gooden, Joe Namath, to name Herb Brooks of Miracle on Ice, and then Tony Robbins and Jay Abraham, from reading the books and their stuff, and like, oh my God, like, I'd love to meet them and have an autograph someday. And that's how I, truly felt, when I was 27 and 30 and 35 and 40. It's how I felt when I was 48 years old and went back to the first Tony event in a long time. Not that I'd ever stopped studying his work, but hadn't been to an event. Because, by the way, footnote, Tony Robbins' work for me was not about events. It was about Awaken the Giant Within and Unlimited Power being textbooks. They were textbooks, right? and that I was embracing in my life. And I'm going to get back to the rituals and Tony in a moment.
Yeah.
But so funny moment.
Mhm.
We're Business Mastery 2 in Amsterdam, and Jay was coming on to speak, and Jay and I had met and had lunch the day before. And so we're chatting, and he said, what was going on stage, and I had the privilege of sitting in the front row as a lion. And so at some point, Jay mentions me in the front room, and it's like, Sean, says at the end of it, like, how am I doing? I'm like, great, Jay, great. And then 2 more times in the first 45 minutes, he asked me, like, Sean, how am I doing? And the third time he's like, Sean, if there's any time you want to put the hook out and take me off stage, just let me know. Right? And then the voice of God from somewhere, it's Tony. And he's like, Jay, essentially, Jay, focus and stop asking Sean. It's like, you're doing well. And I'm like, I felt like crawling under the chair. I didn't create this. I'm like, Jay, please don't say my name again. Like the voice of filling the place as he's watching and listening to the whole thing. It was an incredible moment. And at that same trip, for a very different reason, which I'll keep confidential, Tony came out and in the middle of that Business Mastery 2 and hugged me in front of everybody. Just walked out and gave me a hug. And he and I understood what that meant and what that was about. And it was a beautiful gesture and acknowledgement. It was not a problem. It was a celebration and a thank you that was occurring. And to think that Jay Abraham's up on stage saying, hey, Sean, how am I doing? Which of course, Jay is the genius of all geniuses, right? He was doing amazingly. And Tony comes out to hug me in front of all these folks. And I just sat and I cried that night. And I'm like, how did all this happen? And what I also thought is how possible this is for everybody. Because I'm just some blind guy whose mom pushed a hot dog cart in Jersey City, who wondered when she found out I would go blind, she wondered how I'd ever make a living, how I'd ever support a family. And I'm sitting at this event with my son, who's standing next to me. It's like Tony Robbins is hugging me and thanking me. And I couldn't believe the blessing that this could be.
Enormous blessing. Got it. Yeah. Incredible. Yeah. I mean, you've risen to being a peer of these gentlemen, right? And I mean, for myself too, is getting out of my own way around recognizing how connected we are, right?
I would say this, Joseph. Thank you for even that thought. I could never call Tony and Jay peers. My high school coaches, I still call coach.
Yeah.
Call my high school coach, Coach Woods. I could never repay them for what they've done for my life, and they are always on Mount Rushmore for me as my coaches.
I understand that.
And so thank you. And I would say one more thing about rituals, real quick, because I didn't.
Please, yes.
So yes, the ocean is not always there. I want to, in case we wrap, the ocean's not always there. The weight room is not always there.
Right.
The ability to run is not always there. So what do? I do all day, every day. I get inside my body. I'll touch my body like this, get ready. Before I come on, I'll do jumping jacks. I'll get ready. I'll make moves. I'll get inside my body. I'll breathe. I'll do planks. I'll do crunches during coaching calls. I'll do crunches during rear roll. I'll do planks during rear roll. I'll do jumping jacks during rear roll. I will be inside my body. Like before I got on here, I did 50 jumping jacks. I did a quick plank. I clapped, got ready, get inside my body because I want to show up that way. That doesn't mean you have to show up in a super over the top energy, but I want to be in my body. I'll tighten my arms, my core. So the ritual I have is all day throughout the day. I will put endorphins into my body all day throughout the day, and I will be inside my body, not inside my head. And as soon as I'm conditioned to wait, you're in your head, back in your body, and I'll snap my fingers. Tony taught me so many things. His work taught me so many things from the books, and I live those principles.
Amazing. And you're consistent with it. You honor those principles and you show up each day, and it takes work, and your why really compels you. I mean, what I hear your why is to be generational wealth, leadership, really showing up, impacting your kids, their kids too. And, at the end of life, really showing up powerfully, being greeted by God. It's extraordinary. So this is wonderful. Really great session here today. I really appreciate your time, Sean, Mr. Callagy, on this. I can see also talking to Fernando. We had Fernando a while back on this, just how he's evolved himself, also being in your proximity. Proximity is power. So being around these leaders, as you have been over the years, your coaches, Tony, Jay, and others. I mean, you've grown quite a bit as a leader, and I can see everyone who's part of this movement, Unblinded, growing and leveling up to as well. Life is about leveling up. It's about really leaving this world better than we found it. At least that's how I see it. One of your team members mentioned before, as you were coming on board on this call here, that so you've got the Unblinded Licensed Professional Ecosystem Immersion. What is it? What is that?
Sure. So thank you. The Unblinded Licensed Professional Ecosystem Immersion is the actualization of putting ecosystems together. So I am so honored, Joseph, that you have taken to heart the concept of ecosystem immersion and making it part of your day and your intentionality. It's amazing. And I think a lot of folks don't. Even beautiful souls that listen to the huddle all the time or that came to the immersion, they're not actualizing. So that weekend of October 23, 4, 5, but it's only open to people outside of the elite program on October 24th. That day, we're going to spend 12 hours together from 9 a.m. to 9 p.m. Because one thing I've learned from my mentor, Tony Robbins, is I could bring it for long, long days and long, long nights. And we're gonna merge ecosystems. We're gonna offer for people to come with people you want to build relationships with, build platforms with, and you're going to get some incredibly unique information, understand the formula throughout that day, but it's going to be to actualize the merging of ecosystems with the people that you want to. And Joseph, I'd love to offer you to come, please, of course, as my guest. Love for you to bring 5 of your friends if you like, and that are ecosystem partners for you, or people of potential ecosystem partnership. So it's the Unblinded Licensed Professional Ecosystem Immersion. And by the way, you're like, why licensed professional? The event is really geared towards the recognition that so many folks out there, whatever licensed profession you're in, or coaches, speakers, trainers, there's blue ocean space in the world of professionals. And professionals drive the American economy. They drive influence, attorneys, doctors, accountants, financial services professionals, realtors. And those people are present in the world of personal development, but fractionally, not nearly as present as people that are non-licensed professionals. And so I happen to be a licensed professional, right? I have a law license. And so there's immense intentionality that we're creating Unblinded over bringing the professional development world and the personal development world together to create impact. And so that day is just another step in the process. So that's what we're doing.
And how do people find out about this? So is it unblindedmastery.com, unblindedmovement.com? I know unblindedhuddle.com leads people to your 8:30 a.m. Eastern huddle each day. How do people find out about this?
Sure. So if you go to the unblindedmastery.com, we'll have a page there. If you Google, or we'll put it in the notes, actually, if that's okay, the exact site. But yeah, if you look up Unblinded Licensed Professional Ecosystem Immersion, you'll definitely find it. And the ticket pricing is just, priced extremely low. Because the idea is not to have this be anything of a massively profitable financial event. I believe in giving massive value, but I also believe that unfortunately, if people don't pay something, they tend not to pay attention. They tend not to show.
Agreed. Yeah.
So you want to put, a price tag on it. And it's just the beginning of how you can learn the formula and actually merge ecosystems that day.
Awesome. Well, I believe the formula changed my life. I've had quite a few ecosystem mergers along this journey. I have my own 10 by 10, another concept also from Unblinded. Yeah, so our audience will have them check it out. We'll mind map this as well. Once again, if you're watching this live stream or you're watching this video, if you go to rulesforsuccess.com, access the replay and also access a mind map summary of everything we've spoken about. And on October 13th, we have Sean from the Your Power team on a very engaging 2-hour event. So Sean will be there too. Sean will be there delivering value. That's next Tuesday. I'm beyond excited for that. Frank Clark, not Mr. Orange, different Frank Clark, who started the Power team, my co-leader in all of this. He'll be with me, as well as a full audience of 20, 30 of the people. Sean will be there adding value. It'll be highly interactive. So come forth with any questions you have. It's next Tuesday, the 13th. And nypt.info is our site for more details on that. Thank you, Sean. This has been absolutely fantastic. And we're ending the live stream right now. And we're ending the recording here as well. So Sean, any final words as we close out?
Yeah, just immensely grateful. Thank you for everything. And Joseph, I look forward to doing a lot more with you and your amazing work. So thank you.
Beautiful.